Hey there, today we're going to dive into the first of my new series, which I'll give a review and a look back at each individual Alien and Predator movie. In this series we will not only discuss the movie itself, but also figures that Neca has done and what I feel like they should do. This will also serve as something to be informative to any new collectors. So let's get started. The first movie we will be exploring is the original Alien, released in 1979, serves as a classic, launched so many crossover movies, sequels, comics, games, and etc. Directed by Ridley Scott and written by Dan O'Bannon, this is such a unique movie, especially when you think about the time that it came out. Prior to this movie releasing, the usual Alien storyline usually revolved around humans finding a frozen alien spaceship, or aliens coming down and invading humans. That was pretty well the standard of what was expected. However, this movie took a different turn. The movie itself takes us into some unusual depths. Truckers in space. No-trend military, simple relatable crew that stumbles upon a distress signal and investigates it. One of our crew members, Kane, is ultimately impregnated, and then the chest burster bursts free of his chest, killing off the crew members one by one as they attempt to survive the wrath of the perfect organism. My biggest mindset when watching older movies is to use your imagination. I know there are people that can't get past the man in the suit, dated effects, but for people that can see an old movie for more than it is, that's something special. In this movie, you see the magic unfold and understand why it's a classic. For me, this is more than nostalgia playing out. It's seeing the creativity of a movie that pioneered so much and understanding the movie's history itself, plus acknowledging the work of everyone that was involved in this masterpiece for what it is. As I've said, I have a firm appreciation for the characters in this movie. Our main character is played by Sigourney Weaver, who was 28 years old by the time this movie came out, relatively unknown to the public. During this time frame, there was an outburst of movies with women taking the lead role, from Jamie Lee Curtis in Halloween, Linda Hamilton in Terminator. When you watch this movie, seeing the Ellen Ripley character evolve is one of the most interesting aspects of the series. We'll touch on this more later as the series progresses, but for now, Alien 1979, she's encountering the alien for the first time, doing what she can to survive and not end up like her shipmates. Anytime she encounters a xenomorph, you feel a sense of danger, and it's sold so well to the audience. That's one of the many things that makes this movie so impressive. One xenomorph, one giant ship, knowing it could be absolutely anywhere. Plus, we knew so little about the creature then. It wasn't oversaturated like the modern movies where we know so much about the creature. Mystery was one of the greatest parts of this film, and that of course includes the space jockey. Now, that's another subject matter I could dive more into, but we'll save that for the Prometheus review. But seeing the engineer, or the space jockey, for the first time in Alien, it made me uneasy as a kid. What was that? Why was it never talked about? What role did it play with the xenomorph? A lingering thought that every viewer had. One thing I love about this series is the creature design. Call me old school, but I prefer practical effects over CGI. I understand CGI has come a long way. I give props to anyone designing a modern CGI creature, and certain movements I understand can't be accomplished without it. But this was a time when a man in a suit or a giant puppet was a realistic possibility. Alien was no exception, and the movements were perfectly done by Balaji Badio, not to mention the shots of the alien don't reveal too much at the time. Funny thing is, the xenomorph only has 4 minutes of screen time total, but the moment it shows up, an hour into the movie, its presence is known every step of the way. The xenomorph itself was originally designed by Ron Cobb, who became known for his work in Star Wars, Aliens, Back to the Future. I can't imagine a world where this was the final alien design, but hey, it's not uncommon for our designs to be left on the table like this. It's just far less intriguing than what we got. Eventually the job was given off to H.R. Giger, who dived into the nightmarish, sexual undertones and gave us something unlike we ever saw before. Sometimes I like the eyes on the design, but I understand the perspective. The creature itself lacking eyes gave the viewers less an idea of what it was thinking, more mystery. Alien runs at a runtime of 116 to 117 minutes based on which version you watch. For me, the director's cut is the only way to go. Once you go there, there's no going back to the theatrical version. I feel the same way about several other movies. Overall, Alien stands test of time with a wonderful cast. Amazing retro-looking future set in a fictional 2122. A rough movie to match. We're still trying to get a modern Alien movie that actually matches it. Outside the sequel, I should mention. We're just not there yet. Neca has produced a ton of action figures from this movie, but one of their biggest notable achievements was the fact that they were one of the first to release a Ellen Ripley figure with Sigourney Weaver's likeness and her full approval. Multiple variants, even including Jones the Cat. We were given figures from both the 35th anniversary and the 40th anniversary of this movie. The xenomorph itself has been shown all kinds of love throughout the years. Even before the main line, in 2008 there was a solo figure. This is before the big boom, when the line had blew up in 2013. By the time 2013 came around though, we knew it was time for a new and improved big chap alien figure that was completely solo. And I say this because prior to this there also was a Alien and Predator 2-pack that featured both the original creatures. This was only exclusive to Toys R Us though. We would eventually get that new big chap in 2013. 7 years later in 2020, we would get an Ultimate release. I personally prefer the Ultimate version because it cleans it much better, and I just prefer the more modern paint apps on the Ultimate version, not to mention the accessories I was given. But there are people that actually like the 2013 version itself just because it's a bit lighter on the dome, so it kind of depends on what your preference is. Just however, the drawbacks is the articulation is not really as modernized on that version versus what that would be later. From characters to cats, to chestbursters, eggs, and the xenomorph itself. Neca has pretty well touched it all. There's not a lot they really haven't touched. All the characters actually have action figures now. It's just there is one thing that I do think they need a re-release, just because it's so awesome. I think too many people missed out on it. And that would be the Space Jockey. There is a Cinemachines one that was available for a while. I don't know what the price is for that exactly right now, but I don't think it's widely released anymore. And there also was a giant one that was actually on scale that was made out of foam. And also, don't get me wrong, this isn't the really cheap foam. So if you're curious about that, it's just this does retail for about like 300 plus. I think it was maybe about 200 if so when it originally came out, but it's nothing cheap though. Someday for others, I do hope Neca does reissue the statue, just because it's such an iconic piece and I feel like every huge Alien fan has to have it in their collection. I know that I had to. I don't regret buying it. The overall line has not been disappointing. You know, there's not a lot to say they really haven't touched. Maybe I could suggest maybe they do like an accessory kit, you know, kind of like they did for Aliens, or maybe possibly like a diorama that would be very limited, kind of like they did with the Predator wall.